Hi beautiful souls, welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into something that touches every single part of your life, your habits. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, oh, I've heard all of this before, let me just say, stick with me. Because this isn't just a lecture about brushing your teeth twice a day or making your bed in the morning. This is about the energy, the neuroscience, the universal laws, and the invisible architecture that habits create in your life. Habits are the building blocks of who you are. They are the quiet whispers shaping your destiny. And the crazy thing is, most of us don't even notice them until one day, we look back at our lives and realize everything we are, everything we have, everything we feel, is a direct reflection of our daily habits. Your habits are either the autopilot program keeping you stuck in a loop, or the wings carrying you toward your vision. Every day, about 40 to 50% of what you do is purely habitual. That means you don't even consciously choose it. You brush your teeth with the same hand. You put your shoes on in the same order. You scroll on your phone at the same time of day. You reach for sugar or coffee at certain emotional dips. Now, here's the wild part. The law of attraction says like attracts like. Your vibration, which is made up of your dominant thoughts, feelings, and actions, is constantly pulling similar experiences into your reality. So what happens when half of your daily life is made up of unconscious habits? It means your habits are literally setting your point of attraction. If your habits are mostly stress-driven, rushed, or numbing behaviors, then your vibration reflects that, and the universe mirrors it back. But if your habits are aligned, uplifting, and conscious, then you're vibrating at a higher level, and life begins to flow. Abraham Hicks always says that the universe doesn't respond to your words, it responds to your vibration. And your vibration is simply the accumulation of your repeated thoughts and feelings. That's another way of saying, your habits. Habits aren't just about willpower or self-discipline. They are about vibrational alignment. Every habit you have has an emotional signature. When you roll out of bed and immediately scroll through your phone, notice how it makes you feel. Maybe scattered, anxious, comparing yourself to others. That emotion sets the tone for your day. Now imagine instead that you start your day with 2 minutes of breathing, gratitude, or just silence. That habit creates feelings of calm, presence, alignment. Your habits are not neutral. They're constantly communicating with your emotional body. And your emotions are your guidance system, as Abraham Hicks would say. So when you look at your habits, ask yourself, how do these habits make me feel? Do they bring me closer to alignment or further from it? Do they raise my vibration or lower it? The feelings you cultivate through habits aren't just temporary, they shape your personality. And your personality becomes your personal reality. That line comes from Joe Dispenza, who has done groundbreaking work in showing how thoughts and habits of emotion literally sculpt our brains and bodies. When you repeat a behavior or thought, your neurons fire together. And neurons that fire together wire together. That's Hebb's law of neuroplasticity. Over time, the pathway becomes stronger, like carving a groove into the brain. Joe Dispenza explains it beautifully. Your habits of thought and behavior create neural networks. The more you repeat them, the more automatic they become. Eventually, you don't even need to think about them consciously. Your body has become the mind. That's why it feels so hard to change a habit. You're not just changing an action. You're rewiring your brain, and even retraining your body to break the chemical addiction to familiar emotions like stress, worry, or anger. Dispenza also ties this into quantum physics. He explains that if you keep living in the same habitual emotions, you're tuning into the same predictable future. You're collapsing the same possibility over and over. But when you change your habits, when you introduce new emotional states like gratitude, joy, presence, you literally open yourself up to new timelines, new possibilities in the quantum field. Habits aren't just neurological. They're quantum. They're the key to shifting your entire reality. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, explains this in a refreshingly simple way. Habits are not about achieving goals, they're about becoming the type of person who naturally lives in alignment with what you desire. For example, instead of setting a goal like, I want to run a marathon, you form the identity habit, I am a runner. The daily repetition of putting on your shoes and going for even a short jog reinforces that identity. He breaks it down into 4 laws. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, make it satisfying. When you combine Clear's framework with Abraham Hicks' teachings, you get something incredibly powerful. Your habits become not just small actions, but vibrational choices. They are ways of embodying the person you want to be. Every time you repeat a habit, you're casting a vote for your future self. You're aligning more and more with that vision. But here's the key. You can't just willpower yourself into better habits. You need a vision. Stephen Covey, in The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, says one of the most important habits is to begin with the end in mind. That means if you don't know who you want to be, your habits won't stick. James Clear echoes this by saying, true behavior change is identity change. If you create a vision of yourself as vibrant, creative, healthy, abundant, then habits like meditation, clean eating, or exercising aren't chores. They're simply the natural behaviors of that identity. This is where the law of attraction and neuroscience beautifully intersect. When you emotionally connect with your vision, when you can feel it, taste it, live in it now, your subconscious starts to adopt it as reality. Then your habits start aligning naturally, because your brain loves coherence between identity and action. This is why Joe Dispenza teaches meditation to rehearse a new self. You step into the feeling of your future identity. You're essentially installing the software of your future into your present nervous system. And then, habits become expressions of that new program. Let's also look at The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck. Peck begins with a powerful line, life is difficult. He explains that discipline, the ability to delay gratification, face challenges, and commit to growth, is the path to fulfillment. And what is discipline? It's habits. It's doing the things that align with your higher vision, even when your lower self resists. But here's the twist. Discipline isn't meant to feel like punishment. It's the road less traveled because most people choose comfort over growth. But when you align discipline with vision, habits stop feeling heavy. They feel like acts of love toward your future self. That's the art, shifting from, I have to, into, I get to. Science backs all of this up. A famous study from Duke University in 2006 found that about 45% of the actions people performed every day were not decisions but habits. That's nearly half your life running on autopilot. Another study published in European Journal of Social Psychology by Philippa Lally and her colleagues looked at how long it takes to form a habit. On average, it took 66 days for a behavior to become automatic, though the range varied from 18 to 254 days depending on the person and the habit. That tells us habit formation isn't about overnight transformation, it's about repetition over time. And the brain plays along. Neuroscientists at MIT discovered what they called chunking, where the brain learns to bundle sequences of actions into automatic routines stored in the basal ganglia, a region of the brain associated with motor control and procedural memory. That's why once you develop a habit like driving a car or tying your shoes, you don't need conscious thought. Your brain chunks it into a loop. Charles Duhigg, in his book The Power of Habit, summarized this beautifully with the habit loop: cue, routine, reward. You see the cue, like the alarm clock going off. You perform the routine, like making coffee. You get the reward, the caffeine buzz. Over time, the loop becomes automatic. Understanding that loop gives you the power to change it. If you can keep the cue and the reward but shift the routine, you can rewire your habits. Science also shows how habits influence emotion and resilience. A study in health psychology showed that people who engaged in regular exercise not only reported better physical health but also greater emotional regulation and reduced stress. Why? Because the habit of moving the body produces consistent shifts in brain chemistry, endorphins, dopamine, and serotonin, that elevate mood. Similarly, research in positive psychology has shown that habits of gratitude, such as writing down 3 things you're grateful for every day, can increase long-term happiness by more than 25%. That's a massive return for such a simple daily action. This is why Abraham Hicks says that even small shifts in your vibration, practiced consistently, compound into life-changing results. Science echoes that through the concept of neuroplasticity and emotional resilience. So let's weave the threads. Abraham Hicks teaches us that habits are vibrational patterns that set your point of attraction. Joe Dispenza shows us that habits are neural networks that either trap you in the past or open you to a new quantum future. James Clear shows us the practical steps to make habits stick by aligning them with identity. Stephen Covey shows us that habits must be rooted in vision and principle. And M. Scott Peck reminds us that the road of discipline is the road to freedom. Science confirms this by showing us that habits dominate nearly half our lives. They form through repetition and neural chunking, and they directly impact our emotional and physical well-being. Habits are the invisible architecture of your life. They're the bridge between your vision and your reality. They're the daily votes you cast for the person you are becoming. So, ask yourself right now, are my habits keeping me in the past, or pulling me toward my vision? Do my habits feel aligned with who I truly am, or are they numbing me from who I could be? If I embodied my highest vision of myself today, what's one habit that version of me would already be doing? Start small. Don't underestimate the ripple effect of one habit. As James Clear says, habits are the compound interest of self-improvement, and research agrees, compounding habits build momentum. Here's the truth. You don't need to change your whole life overnight. You just need to choose one habit today that feels aligned with the person you're becoming. Practice it until it feels natural. Let it shape your vibration, your neural wiring, your identity. And soon, you'll look back and realize, your habits didn't just change your life. They became your life. Thank you for being here with me today. If this resonated with you, remember to like, share, and subscribe. And most importantly, take one aligned action today. Because the road less traveled is simply a path of habits repeated with love, vision, and alignment. Until next time, keep choosing the habits that align you with your truest self.